This is gonna be a short, sweet session. It's gonna be on dwarf conifers. Dwarf conifers grow an inch a year, and you can get spruce dwarf conifers, you can get pine dwarf conifers, you can get thuja dwarf conifers, you can get arborvitae dwarf conifers, you can get camies. There's a whole bunch of dwarf conifers. They're available at places like Dirt Dog Nursery. You can access them on Facebook, and they'll tell you when they're going to have an open session. They're not open all the time. But this is a dwarf conifer. This plant will grow up to an inch a year. There's miniatures that grow even less. Then there's intermediates, and then there's large, your regular ones. If this plant likes it really well, it might grow a little faster. If it doesn't like where you put it, it might grow a little slower. That's just the way it works. Regular conifers get quite large. That's your regular Camycypris, your regular pines, your regular spruces, your regular firs that get good and tall. Conifer is any tree or shrub that bears its seeds in a cone. So all this pollen that you're seeing, a lot of it right now, is from conifers. But the seeds for a conifer is always in a cone. That's your pine cone. That's your fir cone. Cute little cone. That's the definition of conifer. There are evergreen conifers and deciduous conifers, but there's very few deciduous conifers. One of them is the dawn redwood. It's metasequoia. But the dawn redwood is an incredibly beautiful plant. It's quite large. If you ever get a chance, in the fall it drops its leaves, but before it drops its leaves, it turns a wonderful gold color. And the leaves are needles. This is a needled evergreen, but it drops its needles in the fall. Unlike the rest of the conifers, which periodically drop their leaves over the course of the year. The reason they would drop their leaves is because the leaf is old and they do it gradually. It's not like a deciduous tree where they just dump its leaves all at one time. Usually an evergreen, but dawn redwood. There we go. This is a mixed bed. There's a grass. The picture's not good enough for me to tell what that is. That looks like a Camycypris. Camycypris I keep pushing because I love them so much, but they don't really grow well in this environment. Part of that is because our soil is a titch on the heavy side. It's either rocky or clayey, and it needs to be lightened up a little bit so those roots can get around. The other reason for Camycypris not growing real well, as explained to me at the last time I was at this nursery, is that our temperature range is large. Where Camycypris grows well is places like Japan, on the west coast, where they have a temperature range of maybe 5 to 10 degrees, and of course from a daytime to a nighttime. Well, we don't have that. We're more like a desert. We have a temperature range from 40 to 80 and then back to 40. So Camycypris doesn't like that very much. But maybe one day we'll be able to get one. Now, when conifers grow and they're subjected to a stress, either from a disease, a virus, or a bug, or some other form of stress, they can form what's called a witch's broom. A witch's broom is an abnormal growth on an evergreen. When you go down the road, sometimes you'll see a regular evergreen, and then there'll be this big clump of just crazy growth coming out the side. The witch's broom is thus a result of a mutation. That mutation is what produces miniature and dwarf conifers. People go out in the forest and they look for these witches' brooms on these trees. They cut them off, they carry them, and they'll graft them onto other material or try to root them, and they end up with an absolutely similar conifer, but it's only going to grow an inch a year or less than an inch a year, and it depends on how they're not always successful. They're not always successful in getting them to live. They're not always successful in getting them to stay true. But a witch's broom is a mutation. Mutations in nature form a whole bunch of different stuff. Like in camellias, you'll get color patterns that you don't see as a result of a virus. It's just fun. It's fun stuff. Makes it different. Horticultural sense, it's a diseased or mutated mass of dense, deformed twigs and foliage forming a bird's nest-like structure in a tree or shrub, the source of some of our most choice and beautiful dwarf conifers. It may be, in folklore, it's where the name came from, it's a broom used by a witch, it's called a besom, a witch's broom. So, two definitions, guys. Here's the source, the picture. This is what a witch's broom will look like. They go up there and they harvest that, then they take it into pieces and they either root it or they graft it and grow it out. And they're very expensive. Witches' brooms are people, especially now that fairy gardens are popular, people like to go after this stuff. Because you don't have to replant this. And the landscape industry wants you to replant your landscaping like every 5 to 10 years. They want you to take it all out and put new in. Yeah, there's big money there. The mutated mass of dense deformed twigs and foliage forms a bird-like structure. Yeah, grafted, and most dwarf conifers are from the Abies, Picea, and Pinus genus. And I forgot to look that up, but the one is the pine. I just bought one of these. It's in my yard. And it should grow slow, so I don't have to replant it. I'm getting too old to replant everything, guys. But grafted or rooted to form new tree with a growth habit of dwarf conifers. 3 main areas of the world where these are located: the Cascades, the Rocky Mountains, the Cascade Mountains, and Eastern and Central Europe. High elevation solar exposure may add to the formation of witches' brooms. So that may be part of the whole biological thing that's going on is the high solar exposure. Coloration in dwarf conifers is usually different. Conifers with blue, silver, or dark green foliage look and perform their best when planted in full sun. Now that's across the board. So if you buy a conifer and you plant it in your yard, if you got dark green, blue, you'll do okay in sun, full sun. Golden conifers do best when they receive morning sun and some afternoon shade. The golden cultivars will burn in full sun until they're established, which can take 2 to 3 summers. A few never burn in full sun. Check the plant description to be sure, or better yet, consult with other conifer lovers in your area. There is a conifer society. It's a national conifer society, and the Dirt Dog Nursery guy, he and his wife are officers in that society. So we've got a local source of information. And he'll answer your stuff either there or he'll probably answer it online too. He's a really nice guy. Conifers with white variegation tolerate very little to any direct sun. So this is burnt from when the moisture in the wintertime gets locked up in the soil and the plant tries to grow and it just can't pull any moisture out of the soil. So this is what you end up with, is these little burnt parts. Now, when a conifer loses any vegetation that's on this trunk, it's not coming back. Doesn't matter what size the conifer is. If you cut the vegetation on a conifer back to the trunk in your yard, it's not coming back. Unlike shrubs and pliable woody material where you'll get growth out the sides, this is not coming back. So this will never get growth below the point where it's coming out right now. And that applies to bigger ones too. So those are across the board. But if the tree was this tall and you had vegetation from the ground up and you wanted to be able to get in there easier with your lawnmower or whatever, and you cut all this vegetation back to the trunk, it's not coming back. Now be careful when you work around a trunk. First of all, you never want to use a weed whacker around the trunk of a plant, because if you go all the way around, you'll kill that tree. Like all the xylem and phloem that's making the juices come up from the roots to the top of the tree and back down to the bottom of the tree are right in there. If you damage all the way around the trees, I got one in my yard right now, it's making me sick because it's a really cute little tree. But you know, somebody else weed whacked it for me. I was grateful. but that one was a Chinanensis. It was Virginia. It was a fringe tree, which is, I love fringe trees. But I'll find another one someday. I'll find another one. Yeah. But it's handy if you want to mow around it. You want to get in there with your mower. Cut all that vegetation back. It's not going to return. Miniatures considered less than 1 inch per year. Dwarf is less than 2 inches per year. Sorry, I misspoke earlier. Intermediate is less than 6 inches per year, and large is more than 12 inches per year. So most conifers are going to be large. Remember to consider your growth rate when applying your conifer, when placing your conifer. Right plant, right place. Fast-growing selections will need space to expand. Dwarf conifers will tolerate crowding because they're just not going to grow. They're always going to be small and cute. Not like your children. Thoroughly water your new conifer upon planting. This ensures proper contact between the soil and the roots. And you want to, when you plant something, you always want to go around and kind of squish it in with your foot. For the first few years in the ground, water when the soil is dry to the touch, 1 to 2 inches below the surface. Best measure of how much water you need is to stick your finger down there, guys. If so, you know, or you can use a little moisture meter. If you're getting too old and you can't bend over, you can use a little moisture meter. 3 to 5 years, little to any supplemental water is necessary, provided you live in a climate that receives natural rain during the growing season. If you live in a summer dry climate, think Middle Tennessee. Additional irrigation is usually necessary. A stake should be in place for only as much time as it is necessary to allow growth and to make sure that the soil, that the roots get a hold in the soil and keep that plant upright. And so I don't know that deer or pests will bother. There's some diseases will bother conifers, but as far as most things, deer will leave them, for the most part, deer will leave them alone. Any input there? You guys ever had trouble with? Okay. It's always helpful to know the climate where your conifer is native. A lot of these guys came from Japan, China. And consider the amount of heat, sun, wind, drainage, and rain that a plant receives in its native habitat. Try to replicate this as best you can. Again, right plant, right place. Some conifers are native to very difficult environments and are adaptable to easier conditions, such as mugo pines. I'm sure you've all seen the mugo pines. They grow out and up, and they're very attractive, usually a blue-green or a green-green. And you'll learn from other conifer collectors or from experience. Places you can use dwarf conifers are a rock garden, a dwarf conifer in a decorative container and by itself, or an accommodation with other plants with winter interest, and placed in your home's entryway. They're very attractive. They're really appealing. Mass along a slope for year-round color and to help stem erosion. Add dwarf conifers to a foundation planting for year-round color and structure. We used to plant landscape plants around our foundations because our foundations were ugly, but we don't build houses with ugly foundations much anymore. So, you know, if you choose not to put landscaping around your foundation, it's really okay. Use a low spreading variety as a ground cover or a lawn substitute. That would probably be a regular sized one, like a juniper, the junipers that spread out, rug junipers, virginianus, juniper virginianus. I think that's it. Combine in a mixed border with other plants in a winter garden for evergreen color and structure, and incorporate dwarf conifers in an Asian style landscape as a featured specimen or bonsai. Can you think of a better class of plants to use as bonsai for old people that all they want to do is wire their little branches out and put them in a pot that's this big? I mean, I can't. To me, that's going to be my gardening goal. These are some of the plants that I saw at that nursery. This is a spirea. See this? This is a golden spirea. we're used to the regular green spirea with the nice light white flowers. This is a golden spirea. It's a relatively new cultivar. It's very attractive, I think, but he's got it there. Arborvitae. That's a miniature or dwarf. I couldn't read the tag. These are actual pictures from his nursery, and I couldn't read the tag on. Oh, that's an arborvitae, I think. It's gray. Look at the difference in color between the gray arborvitae and that little bitty. Yeah. The arborvitae and the gray foliage on that juniper. More arborvitae. Now this would be one of the creeping junipers. Look, it grows prostrate. The tag says squamosa. Juniperus squamosa. There's a pine and a pine. These are not cheap plants, guys. These are not cheap plants. And they don't propagate themselves very easily. This is one of my favorite plants in the world. It's Conifers. There's all kinds of Conifers. There's ones with white tips. There's ones with gold tips. There's ones that grow like giant Christmas trees. But they're always airy. They're not compact like a lot of other conifers. Conifers are magnificent. Unfortunately, you have to baby them here in this climate. From what I understand, the one that grows best around here is called Conifers piscifera, if you want to write that down. But it's more round.
How do you spell that last part?
Pisifera. And they have those at Costco, or they did 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, they had a lot of them.
Yeah, and they had the gold tips, and they were gorgeous, just gorgeous. More Conifers you can see over to the left, and then 2 more pines. Look at the growth on that one pine, and you can see dwarf, dwarf, dwarf.
Oh, that's
You can when the candles come on the pine trees, it's time for your bees to start separating out their hives. Just, that's another. I had an old guy tell me that I needed this. Old beekeeper tale, and most beekeepers are old from what I've seen.
what happens.
When you get your candles on your pines, that's the time to split your hives. Get a new queen and split your hives. That's what he said. Because I'm short, so I can digress. In the fall, all those drones that are hanging around doing nothing, out. And they're not allowed back in. We're not feeding those guys over the winter.
Where'd they go? Die.
42 days, I think, is the average lifespan of a hive worker. But your queens can last up to 5 years.
Yeah.
And they lay 1,500 eggs a day.
I read the other day it was 2,500.
2,500 eggs? That's a good queen. Yes, sir.
That's a hard job.
Okay, we'll go one step further. When the queen mates, when a virgin queen emerges from her cell in the hive, the first thing she does is go around and kill all the other queens that are about to emerge from their cells. So she's a murderer first. First thing. And then the next thing she does is she takes a mating flight, and she travels up to 2 miles and 2,000 up in the air, way up in the air. And all those drones that are hanging around, they see her and they take off and they follow her. And she will mate with multiple drones, at least 15. Now, and each one will mate with her, and then they'll fall dead to the ground because she rips their sperm-holding organ from their body, and there's a big hole there. and then they fall dead to the ground. Now, I want you to think about number 15. He's still going in. He's flying around waiting his turn, and he's still going in.
All the different
I have another big question. What makes a new queen? How do you get a new queen?
It's the quality of the food that they're given. There's more protein in royal. Okay, the hive isn't in charge of the hive. Is in charge of the hive. It's a group mind think. The queen is not. She's got no. Her duties is to mate and to lay
Let's
eggs.
say the queen dies in the hive. How
There are still eggs that she's got left over. The hive knows that she's dead.
so she keeps the eggs are still alive that she's kept.
No, that she's laid. That she's laid. And the hive will feed those eggs, or several. They'll pick several eggs, and they'll feed it a source of food, which is nectar and pollen, which has more protein, and that will form a queen, which is.
So the first one that pops up is the queen?
Yep.
Well, yeah, unless she doesn't kill the other one. Yeah.
She's a murderer.
She's a murderer. Here's another pine. This is a dwarf pine, and this would be a good one for bonsai, as you can see how it's. There's a bonsai nursery out south of Nashville. I forget the name of it, but I'm going to go there someday and check out. I'd like to take a class up there for my retirement. Here's some pine and some picea. You see that little, and that's the way this guy labels his stuff. I meant to bring you all some new labels. I've been using Jack's method and cutting labels out of aluminum cans, and then I scribe in them. I'm not writing on them. I'm scribing into them, and it helps quite a bit.
What do you describe? Just
A pen with a real ballpoint, something hard, or anything with a point, a hard point. And, not on the side that says beer. Okay, here's some more junipers, goat pen. I forget. This one, you see that? This is new growth. When you see green like this on a conifer, that's new growth. Thuja, which is arborvitae. That one's named Maud. Oh, look at that. Juniper. There's Gold Valley. That's a great plant. It looks spectacular. Remember that this won't take full sun. Part sun. It'll need a break. Okay, that's the. You guys are gonna hate me. I apologize. This talk's only a half hour long. Well, thank you guys for your patience. I promise I'll do better the next time. I'll keep you longer. You'll have time to drink more coffee. I apologize, but there's dwarf conifers are incredibly interesting. There's just not a lot of stuff on them. So go out and hybridize go out and get your own.